Okay, so here's an article about Judge White House to unveil federal cannabis reform. Or White House unveils federal cannabis reform very soon, says GOP lawmaker. Pretty much, Donald Trump is going to be staying true to his word and trying to legalize marijuana for medical purposes, making it federal law to allow, or making it federal where, using marijuana legally, marijuana for medical purposes will be a federal thing. So, medical marijuana usage will be legal federally, nationwide. And they also will leave the option where recreational use, being legal, will be up to the states. So if a state chooses to allow marijuana to be sold legally for recreational purposes, the states that state will have that right to do so, but it's not going to be a federal law. So certain states will be allowed to do, or certain states might choose to do it. Certain states will choose not to do it. I do think we will see several blue states, many blue states, probably allowing the sale of it for recreational use. If they don't choose to do that, well, their economies will probably suffer the same impact that the states, the red states that choose not to sell it for recreational use as well. I do think it will improve the economy for having marijuana sold for recreational use. However, at the same time, I will say there are problems that will arise in any circumstance. No matter how you look at this, there's going to be upsides and downsides. Upsides is you have another product that is now being allowed to be sold on the mainstream markets, which is going to help the economy. Downside is people who sell on the black markets are selling on the black markets because it benefits them to sell on the frickin' black markets. They're not selling on the black markets because for no reason. They're selling on the black markets because it benefits them to sell on the frickin' black markets. So, people who sell on the black markets, they're selling on the black markets because the government doesn't see them. They don't have to. These people don't have to worry about reporting their marijuana sales, to the government. They don't have to worry about being taxed for their sales, so that's more money in their pocket when they sell on the black market. Now also keeping in mind the whole supply and demand principle. So there's a lot of benefits for people to sell on the black markets. Now there's also a lot of disadvantages to selling on the black market. For example, you're selling on the black market, you don't have the protection of the police. You don't have the protection of the law. So when you're selling on the black market, you kind of have to take the matters into your own hands when you get screwed over. You're not going to really see this too much with the legal sales of marijuana, but for other products on the black market, you might see like you might end up getting with marijuana for the consumer, the consumer might get spiked marijuana. They might get marijuana that spiked with something that's really dangerous to their health or whatever the case may be. Those people, have that disadvantage, and they can't really go to the police or law enforcement and say, hey, this supplier just supplied me with bad shit, to arrest them. They can't do that because they're going to be ignored. They shouldn't be buying something illegal anyway. So because of that, you're SOL when it comes to buying, marijuana illegally. You're taking a chance that you're getting the correct type of stuff. Now, for the dealers, they end up also having to take matters into their own hands when it comes to selling something illegally. For example, say you're a coke dealer, or you're a supplier of something that's illegal, that's a little bit more, not marijuana, but something that's a little bit more dangerous. Well, or something that's a little bit more addictive. Well, now you're dealing with clients who are so addicted that they really need their fix, but they don't have the money because they've been spending it all on this product, but they really need it. They start getting violent. Well, in the white markets, if they get violent, you can call the police, and have it taken care of, Black markets, you can't do that. Heck, in the black markets, you can't even take legal action, sue. You can't, take it to courts or anything like that. So this results in dealers having to invest in guns, and they end up getting, people end up getting killed and stuff like that because things have to be taken into their own hands. They're creating their own security. They're creating their own, your own security has to be done on the black markets when you do this type of stuff. It becomes very dangerous. You end up having to hire thugs and goons to take matters into, to protect yourself, to protect your supply, to protect your business. So these are factors we have to take into consideration when we tamper with the black markets. When we tamper with the black markets, we can't expect the people who were selling marijuana illegally to just start selling it legally. We can't just expect them to just not to just continue, just be okay with this. No, we can't expect that unless, of course, and I doubt the government will do this. I doubt the laws will allow this. It would be nice if they did, but I don't think they will. If the government passed, said, okay, well, if you were selling illegally before, you can still sell, and we will stay out of your business. We won't have the FDA come over, cause a hassle to, make sure that your shit is, good or whatever the case may be. We will just leave you alone. We won't even tax you for your sales. We won't get into your business whatsoever. Just, go about doing it. Because you were doing it before, we'll let you do it now, and we'll just ignore it. I don't think the government will do that, but if they did, that would lessen the impact of what could and most likely will end up happening when we do legalize marijuana federally. What most likely will end up happening is the same suppliers of marijuana will move towards a different drug to sell illegally. Now, let's keep in mind the reason they want to legalize marijuana legally is to combat the opioid crisis. I think, however, that it's going to cause a bigger opiate crisis because these marijuana suppliers will most likely start moving towards selling opiates. And they will try to convince their existing clients to start buying opiates. So it's going to have the reverse effect that they want, that the government wants. If government really wants to combat the opiate crisis, well, what they could do is they could legalize opiates for recreational use as well as medical use. When they do that, people are already buying legally, or I mean, they're already buying illegally, so they're going to continue to buy. This time it's just going to be easier for them to buy. They're going to be able to buy it easier. And they're also going to be able to buy in a safer manner. Where when they are buying illegally, well, they're, taking a big chance with their health, and they're taking a big risk. They're taking a big risk, when they're buying, illegally, and they're all on their own when they buy illegally. So, they will definitely buy illegally. And, it will piss the opiate suppliers off because they will then need to find another avenue to sell something illegally because they can't sell opiates illegally anymore. So, they're going to look for something else to sell illegally. Meanwhile, when you take something off the black markets and start selling it on the white markets and selling it legally, well, now you end up having, a safer environment because you end up having the FDA getting involved, and the FDA wants to make sure that things are done in a certain way that so the consumer ends up being safer. They're not going to suffer these, problems with spiked drugs, like spiked weed or something like that. So the consumer ends up being safer. The suppliers end up, being allowed to, take advantage of laws that will protect them when they get screwed over, and so will the consumers. So it ends up benefiting them when these things are illegal. But at the same time, the people who choose to sell illegally, they're going to want to continue to sell something illegally because there's a benefit for them to sell illegally. So we're going to see a lot of problems. We really are. When it comes to this type of stuff. Both positive things are going to come out of this. Both negative things are going to come out of this. It's going to be really, 2019 is going to be really interesting. And FYI, I am running for president for 2020. So if you do want to make a campaign contribution, please contact me, and I would love to talk with you. Of course, I think my ideas are going to be way too radical for many people, but I do think, I have a lot to offer for this country. So,